Earlier this season, I made a video breaking down the genius of Luka Doncic and the skills that make him such a ridiculous offensive talent. In that analysis, I briefly touched on a strategy that defenses were using to stagnate the Mavericks' offense, blitzing or trapping Luka as far out as half court, and taking advantage of Dallas's lack of players who can put the ball down as legitimate offensive threats. To combat this, they started giving players like Josh Green and Christian Wood more minutes, as they both have the ability to attack off the catch and generate shots. And when one of the league's best guards in Kyrie Irving became publicly available, they wasted no time getting on the phone to grab Luka a legit second option. This season, Kyrie's generating an absurd 1.28 points per possession in isolation, the highest of any player with at least 2 possessions a game. To many, he's the best ball handler in NBA history, and he also has ridiculous footwork that makes him just as lethal from a pivoted position with jabs and fakes as he is attacking with a live dribble. He can also turn his back to the basket, where he'll either go to an unstoppable fadeaway jumper, or pair that footwork with incredible use of spins to carve out finishes. Because he can score from all 3 levels and is such a ridiculous shot creator, he's able to generate quality looks for himself almost whenever he wants, and from any position. And by putting him next to one of the league's best playmakers, he'll be attacking tilted defenses a lot more. Most of his offense comes on the outside, where he's a truly elite shooter. Of course, he's one of the few remaining mid-range assassins, taking more than 8 every 75 possessions on an efficient 53% clip. And what really stands out to me is the versatility. He's got it all from short middies to long twos to floaters with either hand. And he's just a phenomenal shot maker, as effective as anyone when off balance, falling away, spinning, smothered by a great contest, or some combination of all of the above. He also has range, a threat to score from well beyond the arc, and again, there's just so much versatility with how he gets into them off the dribble. His transfer of energy off the bounce is about as perfect as it gets, allowing him to pull the trigger with lightning quick speed in any scenario. And even in a seeming down year shooting the ball, he's hit just under 37% of his pull-up threes on about 5 attempts a game. These numbers don't even do him justice when accounting for the degree of difficulty and manner in which he's able to create them, generating separation for himself with step backs, sidesteps, and hesitations where again just an inch of room is all it takes. It's not just off the dribble where he's effective though, he's a legitimately great option as a spot up, which is absolutely huge when considering the Mavericks style of play. Over the last 3 seasons, he's hit a scorching 45% of his open threes, and there's not a player in the entire NBA, maybe ever, who creates more open threes than Luka Doncic. And when defenders are worried about hugging Kyrie on the perimeter and leaving him no room to catch and shoot, that just makes it even easier for Luka to get to the rim and do what he does best. Kyrie's also a great shooter off of movement and screens. Regardless of what direction his momentum is going in, he's just as comfortable, and again, he only needs small windows to get a great look off. As a result, you'll often see defenders overplay him or stay as attached to him as possible, to which he'll counter with sharp cuts. Here's a play from his first game with Dallas, where Zubac is forced to pick him up in transition. And as he goes to receive a pass where he can set up for a perimeter isolation, Zubac actually denies the ball, so he instead darts to the corner where there's nobody to stop him from flowing into a 3. In general, he's just a real active mover. This time it's Powell who has the ball in the middle of the floor, and watch Kyrie as he sets an off-ball screen for Green, looks to counter Kawhi's front with a quick backdoor, comes back to receive a handoff, only to backdoor again, this time freeing up for a short midi. He's almost never stationary away from the ball, which will help a ton when Luka's breaking down the defense as he pulls defenders with him wherever he goes, and there's always a chance he frees up for an easy opportunity. Not only does he actively move with the ability to shoot lights out, he also burns closeouts. Rarely ever will you see him catch the ball and just hold it, instead decisively putting it down, especially if there's an advantage to attack. Drew Holiday picks him up at the top of the key, and right off the catch he jabs right, attacks left with a hesitation to blow right by him before going right at one of the NBA's best shot blockers in Brook Lopez with a beautiful layup. He might be the most talented rim finisher we've ever seen from someone of that size, having unrivaled touch, an offhand that's stronger than most players, dominant, and tons of versatility in the types of angles and release points he can go to, adjusting his shot midair at will. When putting it down off the catch like this, he can also go to 1 or 2 dribble pull-up middies, or even a classic flyby for a better look from outside the arc. This will allow him to play off of Luka almost seamlessly. Dallas's offense is predicated on their star playmaker creating that initial advantage, or knocking over that first domino, if you will, before finding a teammate who can either hit the 3 or put it down and attack that advantage for easier offense, which Kyrie's skill set fits to a T. Of course, he can also be the initiator, not just in isolation, but also in the high pick and roll. That pull-up shooting from both downtown and in the mid-range, when paired with his slithery driving and incredible finishing, raises some tough issues for defenses looking to cover. Switching is almost a death sentence, as he'll just back it up and go to work one-on-one, which is hard enough to defend as his actual matchup. Play it in a deep drop, and he'll catch a rhythm just flowing into jumpers off the bounce. And if you send a big to the level, better make sure they can offer some resistance in space. Perhaps what's most important in these actions though, is that he's also a very skilled passer. His shot making and ability to pressure the defense with his live dribble demands added attention, which he capitalizes on as a playmaker really well. Now, he's not teammate Luka Doncic and won't go out there making the most advanced reads you've ever seen, but he's got a ton of different deliveries he can go to, tosses in some manipulation, and really doesn't turn the ball over. This playmaking ability is vital for when Luka's off the floor. All season we've seen them struggling to survive even just minuscule stretches with him on the bench. If you exclude garbage time, they've had a 121 offensive rating in 1600 minutes with him on the court versus a measly 109.8 without him. And by adding a guy who can run offense as a traditional on-ball creator, especially against bench units, I'm expecting this number to rise quite a bit to the point where come playoff time, it's not at all an issue. Another thing Irving brings to the table is how he can push the pace. He's a weapon in the open floor as he fires pull-up jumpers on the run or takes it all the way to the paint for some more of that finishing, which has a sort of seesaw effect with Luka, who likes to take it slow and methodical in the half court. It's worth noting that this has been successful. The Mavericks actually boast the NBA's best half-court offense, a number that should get even better with their new addition, but they could really benefit from added transition to their diet. So what you have is one of league history's most prominent on-ball creators and playmakers in Luka Doncic, who can generate his own shot at all 3 levels out of virtually any situation, while freeing up teammates for high-quality looks on almost every possession down the floor. You pair that with an off guard who can control the pace and is just an incredible outside shooter, active off-ball mover, and decisive attacker with 3-level shot creation, who also has the playmaking ability to run good offense as the lone star, and you start to see just how ridiculous of an offensive backcourt this actually is. There's only one real question mark that remains, and that's where Luka can bring value away from the ball when Kyrie's the one initiating. For years now with Dallas, we've seen an extreme brand of ball dominance through Doncic, and surely that load will be cut into just a bit. So what can he do off the ball? Before we get into that though, I want to give a quick shout out to Basketball Index for helping with this analysis and the making of this video. If you're not familiar with the site, they provide tons of statistical measurements, tools, and easily accessible graphics to further guide your understanding of the sport. They offer talent grades on pretty much any aspect you can think of, and through their player profiles tab, I can easily compare them to other players around the league. Using Kyrie's 3-point shooting as an example, on this page I'm presented with various metrics detailing his ability to create and make these shots, along with how he stacks up against his peers. This is just one of the many useful tools found on the site that help guide me and many others through their analysis, and by signing up with the code VENUE30, you can get 30% 10% off your first month subscription. I'll leave a link in the description below for anyone interested in signing up. And with that being said, let's take a look at Luka's off-ball utility. He doesn't have the same outside shooting threat as Kyrie, especially off the catch, and isn't as agile or active as a mover. One thing he does have though is that he always demands attention. It'll be more difficult to provide help in Kyrie-centric actions because of the possibility that he gets the ball with a chance at attacking a defense that's not in proper position. Even using Luka as a screener can make use of this. Neither of those guys can be left unattended to, and switching the action creates even more problems as they both just abuse mismatches in their own unique ways. Luka destroys smaller guards with the post game he's continuously added to, which is another reason he demands off-ball attention, as he's gotten real good at flashing or sealing deep position, where he'll destroy just about any 1v1 matchup. Another wrinkle in the Dallas offense has been getting Luka into on-ball actions with the use of movement, running him off of screens or handoffs into quick pick and rolls, and with Kyrie initiating these sets, opposing defenses have to find a way to defend both at once. Another big factor to consider is how much more energy Luka will be able to conserve by taking a back seat on some of these plays. Without having to generate all of the offense, he'll likely be a bit sharper, especially down the stretch of games, and I'm hoping this means we'll see some better effort from him in defensive stretches. Defense is really the only true concern I have with this squad, as they just traded away their best wing defender and don't really have great bigs in that regard. But that's a topic of discussion for another day. For now, I'm just excited to see how Luka and Kyrie grow off of each other as one of the most dynamic backcourts and talented offensive pairings in NBA history. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of the fit between Luka and Kyrie, and just how good you believe the Mavericks are. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.